The conference room felt like a tomb. Sarah's voice cut through the silence like a blade, announcing my name for the promotion I'd worked 3 years to earn. Except it wasn't my name, she said. It was Jessica's. My best friend Jessica, sitting 2 seats down from me, her face a perfect mask of surprise. But I caught it, that flicker in her eyes. The satisfaction she tried to hide behind her rehearsed shock. The building held its breath as congratulations echoed around the table. My hands stayed flat against the mahogany surface, fingers spread wide to keep from shaking. 3 years of 60-hour weeks. 3 years of missing family dinners, cancelled dates, sacrificed weekends, all for this moment. And Jessica had stolen it. She turned to me with those doe eyes, the same ones that had fooled me for 15 years of friendship. "I'm so sorry, Emma, I know how much this meant to you." I smiled back, cold, calculated. "Congratulations, Jess, you deserve it." The lie tasted like poison on my tongue. As the meeting dissolved into handshakes and forced pleasantries, I watched Jessica work the room. She was good at this, had always been good at playing innocent while the knife twisted deeper. But she had no idea what was coming. Because 3 days ago, I'd already signed with Morrison Associates, double the salary, corner office, director title, everything this promotion offered and more. Jessica thought she'd won. She had no clue the game had already ended. The elevator ride to my floor felt endless. Each ding of the floor's passing marked another second closer to my moment of truth. I'd been planning this conversation for 72 hours, ever since Marcus Morrison had shaken my hand and welcomed me to the team. But I hadn't planned on Jessica's betrayal making it this sweet. My phone buzzed, a text from her. "Drinks tonight. I feel terrible about the promotion. Let me buy you dinner." The audacity burned through me like acid. She was already playing the guilty best friend, setting up her alibi for stealing my future. I typed back with steady fingers. "Rain check, big day tomorrow." Bigger than she could possibly imagine. My office felt smaller now, cramped with the weight of what I knew. 3 years of late nights had happened in this space. 3 years of believing that hard work and loyalty mattered. That friendship meant something. The framed photo on my desk mocked me. Jessica and me at last year's company retreat, arms around each other, laughing at some joke I couldn't remember. I picked it up, studying her face. Had the betrayal already been planned then? Had she been calculating even as we posed for this picture? My computer chimed with an email from Marcus Morrison. "Looking forward to Monday, Emma. The Henderson account is yours." The Henderson account, Jessica's white whale, the client she'd been chasing for 2 years, the one that would have cemented her reputation. It was mine now. I leaned back in my chair and let the satisfaction wash over me like warm honey. Jessica had played her hand perfectly, just like she always did. Charming, manipulative, brilliant at reading people and giving them exactly what they wanted to hear. But she'd miscalculated this time. She'd underestimated how deep my roots went in this industry, how many bridges I'd built while she was busy burning them behind closed doors. The call came 20 minutes later, HR wanting to schedule my transition meeting, to discuss my new role, my expanded responsibilities, the team I'd be leading. I listened to Patricia's rehearsed enthusiasm and felt nothing but numbness. "Actually, Patricia, could we schedule that for next week? I have some personal matters to handle first." "Of course, Emma, congratulations again, you've earned this." Earned. The word sat bitter in my mouth. Jessica had earned nothing. She'd smiled and schemed and stabbed her way to the top, leaving bodies in her wake, including mine. Or so she thought. The afternoon crawled by like a wounded animal. I pushed papers around my desk, attended meaningless meetings, nodded at congratulations from colleagues who had no idea what game was really being played. All while Jessica held court 3 floors up, basking in stolen glory. At 5:30 she appeared in my doorway, still playing the part. "Hey stranger, you've been quiet today." I looked up from my computer, taking in her designer blazer and perfectly styled hair. She'd dressed for success today, for her victory lap. Just processing everything. She stepped into my office and closed the door behind her. The gesture felt predatory, like a hunter stalking wounded prey. Emma, I want you to know that I never expected this. When Sarah called me into her office yesterday. Yesterday? The word slipped out before I could stop it. Jessica's eyes flickered, just for a moment, but I caught it. I meant, when she told me this morning, about the decision. The lie hung between us like a live wire. She'd known yesterday, had known and said nothing, let me walk into that conference room believing I still had a chance. It's fine, Jess, these things happen. No, it's not fine. She perched on the edge of my desk, her voice dripping with practiced sympathy. You worked so hard for this, harder than anyone, you deserve better. I wanted to laugh, or scream, or grab her by those perfect lapels and tell her exactly what I thought of her performance. Instead, I smiled. Thanks, that means a lot. She squeezed my shoulder, and I fought the urge to shrug her off. Her touch felt contaminated now, poisoned by 15 years of carefully constructed lies. Dinner Friday? My treat. We can talk about your next move. My next move. As if I needed her guidance. As if I hadn't already played 3 moves ahead while she was still figuring out the board. Sure, Friday sounds perfect. She left with a satisfied smile and I watched her walk down the hallway toward the elevator. Still playing the concerned friend. Still convinced she'd won. My phone buzzed with another text from Marcus Morrison. Emma, I've been thinking about our conversation regarding team expansion. Let's discuss Monday. Team expansion. That meant headhunting. That meant I'd be in a position to poach talent from my current firm, including Jessica's new team. The irony was delicious. Thursday morning brought a knock on my door at 7:15. I was already at my desk, had been since 6, working on my transition plan. Not for the promotion Jessica had stolen, but for my real future, the one she knew nothing about. Emma? Sarah's voice was cautious. She stepped into my office wearing the expression of someone delivering bad news. Do you have a few minutes? I gestured to the chair across from my desk, the same chair where Jessica had played her sympathy act yesterday. I wanted to talk about the promotion decision. Sarah settled into the chair, her hands folded in her lap. I know you're disappointed. Disappointed. As if this was about hurt feelings and bruised ego. As if 3 years of my life could be dismissed with corporate therapy speak. I understand these decisions are complicated. They are, and I want you to know that it was incredibly close. Your work on the Patterson account, your leadership during the restructuring last year, it was all exemplary. I nodded, letting her continue her rehearsed speech, the same speech she'd probably given to dozens of passed-over employees over the years. Jessica brings a different skill set to the table. Her relationship, building abilities, her strategic thinking. Her strategic thinking? The words came out sharper than I'd intended. Sarah paused, studying my face. She's very good at seeing the bigger picture, at positioning for long-term success. Long-term success. Like stealing promotions from best friends. Like 15 years of calculated friendship designed to get close enough to strike. I'm sure she'll do well. I hope you'll consider staying on as her deputy. You two work so well together, and your experience would be invaluable to her transition. Her deputy, the final insult wrapped in corporate politeness. Stay and watch Jessica succeed with my strategies, my client relationships, my 3 years of sacrificed evenings and weekends. I'll think about it. Sarah's smile was relieved. Wonderful, take your time, there's no rush. After she left, I sat in the silence of my office and felt something shift inside me. A cold clarity settled over my thoughts like ice forming on a lake. Jessica wanted to play chess. Fine. But she was still thinking checkers while I was already calculating endgame. My resignation letter was already typed, saved in a secure folder on my computer. 2 paragraphs of professional courtesy that would detonate Jessica's world like a controlled explosion. But I wanted to savor this moment a little longer. The phone on my desk rang. Internal call. Emma, it's Jessica. Could you come up to my new office? I'd love to get your input on some ideas. My new office. She'd moved in already. Claimed the space I'd been working toward for 3 years. The space with the view of the city, the mahogany desk, the prestige that came with a corner location. I'll be right up. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt different now. I wasn't climbing toward my future anymore. I was ascending to deliver Jessica's reckoning. Her door was open when I arrived. She'd already put up her diplomas, arranged her awards on the bookshelf, placed that same photo of us on her new desk, the one from the company retreat, the one where she was already planning my downfall. Emma, come in, close the door. I stepped inside and immediately felt the difference. The office was twice the size of mine, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the financial district. This should have been mine. Would have been mine if Jessica hadn't spent 15 years playing the long game. Isn't this incredible? She gestured toward the windows, her face glowing with satisfaction. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up. It's impressive. She turned to face me, her expression shifting to that practiced concern again. I want you to know that I'm going to need your help more than ever. Your institutional knowledge, your client relationships, they're going to be crucial to my success. My success, built on the foundation of her theft. What did you have in mind? Partnership, real partnership. She leaned against her new desk, arms crossed. I know the title says deputy, but I want us to be equals, co-leaders. What's mine is yours. The lie was so smooth, so perfectly delivered, that I almost admired the craftsmanship. She was offering me crumbs disguised as a feast, asking me to be grateful for the privilege of watching her succeed with my stolen future. That's very generous. We've always been a team, Em. That doesn't change now. We'd never been a team. I'd been the workhorse while she played politics. I'd been the strategist while she took credit. I'd been the loyal friend while she sharpened her knife. I appreciate the offer, Jess, really. But I need to think about my options. Her confidence flickered, just for a moment. Your options? My future. Whether this is still the right fit for me. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Jessica's mask slipped, revealing something cold and calculating underneath. Emma, you're not seriously considering leaving, not over this. Over this. As if my stolen promotion was a minor inconvenience, as if 3 years of my life meant nothing. I'm considering what's best for my career. Your career is here, with me, with us. Her voice carried an edge now, the friendly facade cracking. You can't just throw away 15 years of friendship because you didn't get what you wanted. There it was. The real Jessica, finally showing her fangs. Friendship as leverage, loyalty as a chain to keep me bound to her success. I smiled, feeling that cold clarity crystallize into something harder, something unbreakable. You're right, friendship is important. Relief flooded her features. Exactly, we're stronger together. Which is why I wanted to tell you in person. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the envelope. Clean white paper, formal letterhead, 2 paragraphs that would end her world. I placed it on her new desk, right next to the photo of us laughing together. What's this? My resignation. The color drained from her face like water from a broken dam. She stared at the envelope as if it might explode. You're what? I'm giving my notice, effective immediately. Her hands trembled as she picked up the letter, tore it open with desperate fingers. I watched her eyes scan the text, watched understanding dawn like a terrible sunrise. Emma, you can't, this is where are you going? The question hung in the air between us. This was the moment I'd been building toward for 3 days. The moment when Jessica would realize that she'd been outplayed by someone she'd underestimated. Morrison, Associates. The name hit her like a physical blow. She staggered backward, catching herself against her stolen desk. That's impossible. They don't, you couldn't. Director of Strategic Development, corner office, the Henderson account. I let each detail land like a separate punch. They made the offer Monday. I signed Tuesday. Jessica's mouth opened and closed like a fish drowning in air. Monday. The day before she'd stolen my promotion. The day before she'd thought she'd won. You knew? You knew when we were in the meeting? When I got promoted? I knew you were going to steal it, yes. The word steal hung between us like an accusation. Jessica's face cycled through shock, anger, and something that might have been fear. I didn't steal anything. The promotion was offered to me fairly. Was it? Or did you spend the last 3 years positioning yourself to take credit for my work? Her silence was answer enough. The Patterson account. My strategy. My client relationships. My 60-hour weeks. I counted them off on my fingers. You took everything I built and put your name on it. That's not, I contributed, we worked together. We worked together while you sabotaged me. Every missed deadline you blamed on my team. Every failed initiative you made sure had my fingerprints on it. Every success you managed to claim credit for. She was shaking now, the full weight of her exposure settling over her like cement. You're wrong. You're twisting everything because you're hurt and angry and… I'm not angry, Jess. The calm in my voice seemed to terrify her more than shouting would have. I'm impressed. 15 years is a long time to maintain an act that sophisticated. It wasn't an act, our friendship. Our friendship was your cover story. Your access to my work, my strategies, my client relationships. You played the long game perfectly. She slumped into her stolen chair, the fight bleeding out of her. For the first time in 15 years, Jessica looked genuinely defeated. What do you want from me? Want, as if this was about negotiation, as if there was something she could offer that would undo 15 years of calculated betrayal. I want you to understand that you didn't win. I turned toward the door, ready to leave her with the wreckage of her victory. Emma, wait. Her voice was small now, stripped of its usual confidence. The Henderson account. You said Morrison gave you Henderson? I paused with my hand on the door handle, savoring the moment. They did, along with Morrison's entire client development budget. Apparently, they're very interested in expanding their market share. The implications hit her like an avalanche. Morrison wasn't just hiring me. They were positioning to raid our client base, using my relationships and insider knowledge as the foundation. Jessica's stolen promotion had just become the captain's chair on a sinking ship. You can't do this to the company, to our colleagues, they don't deserve. Neither did I. I opened the door and stepped into the hallway, leaving Jessica alone with her hollow victory. Behind me, I heard the sound of something falling. Probably the photo of us from the company retreat. The last prop in her performance as my loyal friend. The elevator doors closed with a soft chime, and I began my descent back to my old office. Back to pack up 3 years of my life and prepare for Monday morning at Morrison Associates. My phone buzzed with a text, another number I didn't recognize. Emma, this is David Chen from Morrison. Marcus asked me to reach out about the transition schedule. Could we arrange a call this afternoon? David Chen. I knew that name. Jessica's former client at Hartwell Industries, the account she'd lost 6 months ago due to what she'd called unrealistic expectations. Another casualty of her management style. I typed back quickly. Absolutely. Looking forward to working together again. The elevator reached my floor, and I walked back to my office with something that might have been satisfaction warming my chest. Jessica had played chess while I was building an empire, and she was about to find out just how many of her former clients remembered exactly why they'd left. My computer chimed with an email from Marcus Morrison as I settled back into my soon-to-be former desk. Emma, I've been thinking about our conversation regarding competitive intelligence. How much do you know about current strategic initiatives at your firm, particularly around client retention and new business development? I smiled as I typed my response. Quite a bit, actually. Happy to discuss over lunch tomorrow. Tomorrow. By then, my resignation would be public knowledge. Word would spread through the office like wildfire. Jessica's stolen promotion would be yesterday's news, overshadowed by the earthquake of my departure. And by Monday, when I walked into my new corner office at Morrison Associates, Jessica would be alone with her prize. A promotion without the expertise to back it up. A corner office overlooking the smoking ruins of the client base she'd inherited. The building held its breath around me as I began packing up my personal items. 3 years of accumulated life, reduced to a single cardboard box, but I wasn't leaving empty-handed. I was taking everything that mattered. My relationships, my reputation, my strategies. Everything Jessica thought she'd stolen was walking out the door with me. My phone rang. The display showed Jessica's extension. I let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it rang again. Same number. I powered it off. Whatever she had to say, whatever desperate last-minute negotiation she wanted to attempt, it was too late. The game was over. She'd played her hand perfectly, just like she always did. She'd just forgotten to check if I was still at the table. The security guard in the lobby nodded as I walked past with my box of personal items. Another former employee making the walk of shame. Except this wasn't shame, this was liberation. Outside, the afternoon sun felt different on my face, warmer somehow, like the start of something new instead of the end of something old. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a voicemail notification from Jessica's earlier calls. I almost deleted it without listening, then decided I wanted to hear her voice one more time. To savor the moment when perfect control finally cracked. Emma, please call me back. We need to talk about this. About what you're doing to the company, to our team, to our friendship. This isn't just about us anymore. There are people depending on this department, people whose jobs. I deleted the message before she could finish, still playing the victim, still trying to make her theft my fault. But her desperation was beautiful music. Saturday morning brought 3 more voicemails, Jessica's voice growing more frantic with each message. By the third one, she was no longer asking, she was demanding. Emma, you need to call me back right now. Marcus Morrison called personally to poach Henderson. This is corporate sabotage. I'm talking to legal about breach of contract, about... I deleted that one too. Sunday evening, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Jessica standing on my front porch, still wearing her power suit from whatever weekend meeting she'd attended. Probably an emergency session with Sarah and the executive team trying to contain the damage from my departure. I didn't answer the door. She knocked for 5 minutes, then called my name, then finally slipped a handwritten note under the door before leaving. Emma, we need to talk, face to face. What you're doing will destroy both of us. Call me, Jay. Both of us. She still thought we were in this together somehow. Still believed that 15 years of friendship meant something after 3 days of calculated betrayal. I fed the note to my shredder and went to bed early. Tomorrow was going to be a very good day. Monday morning, 7:47 a.m. I pulled into the parking garage at Morrison Associates and felt something settle into place. The building was newer, shinier, everything my old firm pretended to be, but couldn't afford. Marcus Morrison met me in the lobby personally, a gesture that would have been impossible at my former company. No executive there had time for individual attention, especially not for new hires. Emma, welcome to Morrison. Ready to change the game? Ready. I'd been ready for 3 years. My new office was on the 15th floor, with a view that stretched across the financial district to the harbor beyond. Corner windows, mahogany desk, the kind of space that commanded respect. On my desk waited a file folder marked Henderson Account Transition Materials. Inside, David Chen's contact information and a scheduling request for our first strategy meeting. Jessica's white whale, served on a silver platter. My computer chimed with an email. The sender made me smile. Patricia from HR at my former firm. Emma, we've received several client inquiries about your departure. Could you provide contact information for managing the transition? Client inquiries, plural. The exodus had already begun. I typed back professionally. All client communications should be directed through my replacement. Best of luck with the transition. By noon, I'd had calls from 4 former clients. Henderson was just the beginning. The foundation of Jessica's inherited empire was already crumbling, and she'd been in charge for exactly 4 days. My phone rang at 1:15, unknown number, but I recognized the area code, my former office. Emma, this is Sarah. We need to talk. Sarah, not Jessica. The big guns were coming out. Hello, Sarah. What can I do for you? We need to discuss a transition plan. Your departure has created some complications. Complications. Corporate speak for our client base is hemorrhaging and we're in full panic mode. I'm sure Jessica can handle it. She's very good at strategic thinking. The silence on the other end stretched like a taut wire. Emma, we both know this is about more than business now. Jessica is struggling. She's in over her head. In over her head, 4 days into her stolen promotion, and reality was already crushing her. I'm sorry to hear that. We'd like to discuss bringing you back, Senior Director, your own budget, full autonomy. Too little, too late, and they both knew it. I'm very happy at Morrison, Sarah, but I appreciate the offer. Emma, please, be reasonable. What will it take? What will it take? The question Jessica should have asked herself before she decided to steal 3 years of my life. There's nothing to discuss, I've moved on. I hung up before she could continue her desperate pitch. My computer chimed with another email, this time from Marcus Morrison. Emma Henderson meeting went perfectly. David is thrilled to be working with you again. Also, I've been contacted by 3 other firms about potential talent acquisition. Your reputation precedes you. Let's discuss expansion over dinner Thursday, Marcus. Talent acquisition. Marcus was already thinking bigger than individual clients. He wanted to build an empire, and I was his foundation. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Jessica, please call me. My career is over because of what you're doing, I'm begging you. My career is over. The delicious irony of the phrase made me lean back in my executive chair and savor the moment. 3 days ago, she'd thought my career was over. Funny how quickly the tables could turn. I deleted the text without responding. Tuesday brought a call from David Chen at Henderson Industries. Emma, I wanted to thank you personally for handling this transition so professionally. After our experience with Jessica's team, frankly, we weren't sure about continuing the relationship at all. What kind of experience did you have? Missed deadlines, budget overruns, and when we raised concerns, Jessica became defensive. Blamed everything on team dynamics and departmental restructuring. Blamed everything on team dynamics, Jessica's signature move when her own incompetence surfaced. I'm sorry you had that experience, David. Things will be different moving forward. I'm counting on it. Marcus speaks very highly of your strategic thinking. Strategic thinking. My strategic thinking, refined over 3 years of 60-hour weeks while Jessica played politics. Wednesday afternoon brought another visit to my building. This time, Jessica made it past the security desk by claiming to be an old friend with a lunch reservation. She knocked on my office door at 2:30, still wearing that desperate expression from Monday morning. Emma, please, just 5 minutes. I could have had security remove her, should have probably, but curiosity won. Come in, close the door. She stepped inside my new office and I watched her face as she took in the view, the mahogany desk, the prestigious address. Everything she'd stolen, everything she'd thought she'd won, reflected back at her in superior form. This is nice. Her voice was hollow. Thank you. Emma, I know you're angry. I know I handled things badly. But what you're doing? What am I doing, Jessica? You're destroying the company, Henderson, Morrison. The others you're pulling our entire client base. Sarah thinks we might have to lay off staff. Layoffs, the ultimate consequence of stolen leadership. Jessica had taken the promotion by force, and now she was discovering that titles without competence were worthless. I'm doing my job. Your job is ruining people's lives. I leaned back in my chair, studying the woman I'd called my best friend for 15 years. She looked smaller now, diminished by the weight of consequences she'd never bothered to consider. Like you ruined mine? I never, that's not what happened. What did happen then, from your perspective? She shifted uncomfortably, realizing she was being asked to defend the indefensible. The promotion was offered to me. I accepted it. That's how these things work. And the timing? The fact that you knew Monday and said nothing? I was sworn to confidentiality until the official announcement. By who? Sarah. Another lie, smooth as silk. Sarah had told me herself that the decision was made Tuesday morning. Jessica had been lobbying for it behind the scenes, using her access to my strategies and client relationships to position herself as the obvious choice. When did you decide you wanted my promotion? The question hung between us like a blade. Jessica's mask slipped again, revealing something calculating underneath. It was never your promotion, Emma. It was an open position. We both applied. The revisionist history was breathtaking in its audacity. I'd been working toward this role since the department was created. Jessica had thrown her hat in the ring 6 months ago, right after I'd landed the Patterson account. Right, open position. You're being childish about this, vindictive. This isn't like you. This isn't like you. The final insult. After 15 years of friendship, she thought she knew who I was, thought I'd roll over and accept her betrayal with quiet dignity. Maybe you never knew me at all. She stood up abruptly, her composure finally cracking completely. Fine, you want to burn everything down, go ahead, but remember that there are innocent people caught in the crossfire. Innocent people, like me, 3 days ago, walking into that conference room believing I still had a chance. I'll remember that. She left without another word, and I watched through my floor-to-ceiling windows as she walked across the plaza toward the parking garage. Still carrying herself with that artificial confidence, still playing the part of the wronged victim. But her shoulders were slumped now. The weight of reality was finally settling in. Thursday evening, Marcus Morrison and I sat in the private dining room of the city's most exclusive restaurant, the kind of place where deals were made and empires were built. The kind of place my old firm couldn't afford to expense. Henderson is just the beginning. Marcus cut into his steak with surgical precision. David Chen mentioned 3 other accounts that are reconsidering their current relationships. Jessica's management style is divisive. Marcus smiled. Your former friend has quite a reputation. Brilliant political operator apparently, terrible at actual client service. She's very good at positioning herself for success, while positioning others for failure. The question was delicate, probing. Marcus wanted to know if I'd been complicit in Jessica's rise, or if I'd been a victim of it. She's very strategic about relationships, long-term thinking. 15-year thinking, from what I understand. He knew. Of course he knew. Marcus Morrison didn't build an empire by missing details. Something like that. Well, her strategic thinking just handed me the best hire I've made in 5 years. He raised his wine glass. To new beginnings. To earn success. We clinked glasses and I felt something settle into place. For the first time in 3 years, I was exactly where I belonged. My phone buzzed with an urgent email from Sarah. The subject line read, "Confidential discussion required." I deleted it without reading the body. Friday morning brought news that spread through both firms like wildfire. Jessica had suffered what the company called a medical emergency during Thursday's emergency board meeting. Stress-related, according to the official statement, she was taking a leave of absence effective immediately. A medical emergency. The stress of stolen success had finally caught up with her. My computer chimed with an email from Patricia in HR. Emma, we'd like to discuss an emergency transition arrangement. The department needs immediate leadership and your expertise would be invaluable. We're prepared to offer significant compensation for consulting services. Emergency transition. They wanted me to come back and clean up Jessica's mess, restore the client relationships she'd destroyed, rebuild the team she'd demoralized. I typed back quickly. Unfortunately, my current position requires my full attention. I'm sure you'll find qualified internal candidates. Best of luck. By noon, word had reached Morrison about Jessica's collapse. Marcus appeared in my office doorway with champagne and 2 glasses. I hear congratulations are in order. For what? Winning. I accepted the glass he offered and let him fill it with expensive champagne. Winning. It felt different than I'd expected. Hollow somehow, empty. I'm not sure anyone won. You did. He settled into the chair across from my desk, the same position Jessica had occupied just 2 days ago. Complete victory. Your former friend is gone. Her stolen promotion is worthless. The clients she inherited are jumping ship. You've built everything you wanted here while watching her world collapse. Complete victory. But Jessica wasn't my enemy. She'd been my best friend for 15 years before she became my betrayer. the satisfaction felt poisoned by something that might have been sadness. She brought it on herself. She did, but you executed the consequences perfectly. I sipped my champagne and stared out at the harbor through my corner windows. Somewhere across the city, Jessica was probably sitting in a doctor's office, trying to explain how 3 years of careful planning had exploded in 4 days. Trying to understand how she'd been outplayed so completely by someone she thought she knew. Marcus, can I ask you something? Of course. When did you first approach me for this position? He smiled, swirling his champagne thoughtfully. 6 months ago. Right after David Chen called to complain about Jessica's handling of the Henderson account, he mentioned you specifically. Said you were the real talent over there, but you were being held back by politics. 6 months ago, right when Jessica had decided she wanted my promotion, right when she'd started positioning herself to steal my future. David recommended me? David and 2 other clients who'd worked with your team. They all said the same thing. Jessica was good at presentations and politics, but you were the strategist. The one who actually delivered results. The one who actually delivered results, while Jessica took credit. Why didn't you approach me sooner? I was waiting for the right moment, when you'd be motivated to make a change. Marcus raised his glass again. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. And sometimes it's watching your enemies destroy themselves while you build something better. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. Jessica had handed me both. The motivation to leave and the satisfaction of watching her stolen victory turn to ash. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Emma, it's Jessica. The doctors say I had a panic attack during the board meeting. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Everything I worked for is gone. I know I hurt you, but please don't let this destroy both of us. Everything I worked for is gone. The irony was perfect. She'd stolen everything I'd worked for, only to discover that success without foundation was just an elaborate house of cards. I deleted the message and powered off my phone. Marcus was watching me carefully. Second thoughts? No, just processing. Guilt? The word hung in the air between us. Guilt. Did I feel guilty for Jessica's collapse, for the panic attack that had humiliated her in front of the board, for the leave of absence that had effectively ended her career? Relief. And that was the truth. Relief that the game was finally over. Relief that 3 years of stolen credit and unacknowledged work had finally been vindicated. Relief that Jessica's 15-year performance as my loyal friend had finally been exposed for what it really was. Marcus nodded, understanding passing between us like a current. Good. Guilt is for people who have something to feel guilty about. That evening, I sat in my new apartment overlooking the harbor and opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for 3 years, for the promotion that should have been mine, for the recognition I'd earned but never received, for the moment when everything finally made sense. My laptop chimed with an email from David Chen. Emma, I wanted you to know that our first week working with Morrison has exceeded every expectation. Your strategic insights have already identified 3 areas for growth that Jessica's team missed completely. Looking forward to our Monday morning briefing. 3 areas for growth that Jessica's team missed, because Jessica's team had been focused on politics instead of results, on presentations instead of strategy, on credit instead of competence. I raised my glass to the city lights twinkling beyond my windows and made a silent toast. To earn success, to vindication, to the sweet satisfaction of watching thieves discover that stolen goods never fit quite right. And to Jessica, wherever she was tonight, finally understanding that some games have consequences she never bothered to calculate. The building held its breath around me as I settled into my new life, built on foundations I'd laid myself. No stolen promotions, no borrowed strategies. No 15 years of calculated friendship designed to get close enough to strike. Just me, my reputation, and the empire I was going to build from bedrock. Jessica had taught me an important lesson about trust, about loyalty, about the difference between friends and allies. But I taught her something more valuable. That some people are dangerous precisely because they look so harmless. That underestimating quiet competence is always a fatal mistake. and that stealing someone's future only works if they don't have the vision to build a better one. She'd played the game perfectly. She'd just forgotten to check if the rules had changed.